Welcome back. This weekend, Senator Tammy Baldwin now leading the effort behind the scenes to get enough U.S. Senate Republicans on board to codify same-sex and interracial marriage. The House passing the measure on a 267 to 157 vote this past week. 47 Republicans joined all Democrats in support, including Congressman Brian Stile. The push coming after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade and new concerns justices could reverse the court's ruling on same-sex marriage. Congressman Mark Pocan is co-chair of the Congressional LGBTQ+ caucus. He joins us now from Washington. Congressman, good to see you.
Good to see you, Matt.
We'll get to that legislation first, but first I want to get your thoughts on what we just heard. Former President Trump calling Speaker Vos this past week in his continued push to decertify the 2020 results. Your thoughts on that?
Well, Donald Trump has been relentless on trying to change reality, that he lost the election by one of the largest margins in our nation's history, 7 million votes. And by doing so, he's trying to take a Republican speaker who, has, I think, passed every bill Republicans have wanted to. He's unfortunately brought 2 gerrymandered maps to Wisconsin, and now Donald Trump wants to punish him because it's about Donald Trump's ego, not the Republican Party. That's what I've been dealing with in Washington since I've been here, right? The Republican Party these days, unfortunately, is a cult of a personality rather than a political party. I give the speaker credit. By doing that, I probably got him in trouble, but for being a principled person who's saying our state constitution doesn't allow him to break the law like Donald Trump's asking.
Is it surprising to you that Trump is still making these phone calls, and should the January 6th committee look into this?
Someday Donald Trump will be in a nursing home and he'll still be sputtering about this, is my assumption. So it doesn't shock me that he's still doing this. But I think the reality is, especially with the January 6th hearings, people get what Donald Trump's about. This guy's not just a charlatan. He's a charlatan with a PhD in ripping people off and taking advantage of what's happening. So, I'm not surprised with pretty much anything that Donald Trump does.
All right, Congressman, let's move to the legislation to codify same-sex marriage. Senator Baldwin now helping lead that effort in the Senate to get Senate Republicans on board. Will she get enough Republicans?
Well, I would hope so. This should be a no-brainer. I mean, here's what we voted on, just so you understand. It was a bill to keep in place the marriage laws in this country, which include for interracial couples and for same-sex couples. So that's pretty status quo, yet 157 Republicans in the House, including all but one Republicans of the Republicans in Wisconsin, voted against the current law of the land. I mean, given the current status of the Republican Party, unfortunately, that's what it is. So, she's got an uphill climb given the Senate rules. Now, granted, I think sometimes the Senate has a little bit more of a stable body because of the election cycles that they have, and hopefully they can do that. But, what's at risk and what's really, I think, on the line is whether or not 500,000 people who are involved in same-sex marriages are going to continue to be able to have the same rights and as other couples. It's something that now we've had in place for quite a while.
157 House Republicans, as we mentioned, voted against this legislation. Congressman Gallagher told me in a statement, I'm going to read it to you quick, quote, "The Supreme Court also made clear in the Roe ruling that any attempt to mischaracterize Roe would stoke unfounded fear that our decision will imperil other rights. This bill is a prime example of what the justices warned against and is nothing more than a brazen attempt at fearmonger."
Yeah, that's a weak, pathetic attempt to say that he's afraid of his own constituents, his Republican base. Bottom line is, you either support the marriage laws of the country right now that allow for same-sex couples to get married, for interracial couples to get married. That was part of the vote. Or you are chicken and you put out a weak press release that doesn't address the actual issue. Unfortunately, Mike Gallagher chose poorly.
47 Republicans did vote for this. Congressman, in this day and age, put into context what 47 Republicans voting with Democrats means politically and the position of Republicans on same-sex marriage.
Well, again, I mean, this was just to take the current law and keep it in place. The number should have been much bigger, but I'm glad that we had 47 Republicans. Hopefully that translates to success in the Senate. What I think we should be more worried about is, we're certainly having our freedoms eroded right now in this country, largely by a conservative, biased Supreme Court. And if you start overturning law that's been here for half a century, or you decide that, according to Clarence Thomas, you can go after laws that allow consenting adults to do what they are going to do, that you can overturn contraception, you're going to overturn the marriage laws. that's taking us to a very different place, and your rights and freedoms are at risk. And I think people should be very concerned.
A vote in the House this past week. Now on to the U.S. Senate. Congressman Mark Pocan. Congressman, like always, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Up next, just what Americans are thinking about the U.S. Supreme Court. Charles Franklin standing by with that new nationwide survey.